Hi, welcome to Observations. I'm host John Walsh, publisher of the Palm Coast and Ormond Beach Observer community newspapers. This morning our guest is Greg Blosé, the president and CEO of the newly formed Palm Coast-Flagler Regional Chamber. Welcome, Greg.
Hey, thanks, John. I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
I am excited that you are here too, and wanted to share with our audience how this new chamber came about, why it came about, and so forth. So, Greg, I'm going to start the way that we were introduced. So let me back up a little bit, the history of Palm Coast, Flagler County, and where we are as a community as far as a couple of key points that I think are important to look at constantly. And the first one that I always look at is our tax base and the diversity of our tax base. I think it's important to identify how much of the taxes collected in our community is generated by our residents and how much is generated by non-residents. And through the history of our community, that's no secret, but we've been labeled as being a business unfriendly community. Most of that conversation, it seems, was directed towards our government agencies. When I look at the history, I have to say that as a chamber, we own some of that reputation as well. By that I mean that unfortunately the previous chamber, the organization, was not able to make it through the last economic crisis when COVID struck our community. The tax diversity issue that I just referred to, when you look at healthy communities throughout our region, the amount of taxes that come from the residents versus the non-residents, a good balance should be about 25% from business, 75%, maybe 70-30 split like that. It was just, 7-8 years ago when I first identified the fact that Flagler County had a tax diversity of about 75-25, and that was okay. Unfortunately, since then, it has eroded to where 92% of our tax revenue comes from residents and only 8% comes from non-residents. When I also look at the communities to the north and to the south of us to see that their economic base has grown 30% in Volusia County and 40% in St. Johns County, I look at our growth in that same specific period of time, it was only 10%. So my guiding North Star through all of this chamber stuff is the fact that there's an opportunity to take advantage of economic and commercial development in our community. And one of the important legs to do so is having a strong Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Chambers of commerce traditionally are created to deal with important community-wide issues. And I've spent some time studying the history of chambers of commerce. And when you look at what's happening in Flagler County, we're really at a crossroads, I think. I mean, there's an exceptional opportunity for growth and for improvement because of the growth of the entire state of Florida, you know. But when you think about what the future could be in 2030 or 2040, and we've researched all these statistics, and I'm sure we'll talk about them today, but the issue really becomes, what do you want the future of your community to look like? And these jobs with future growth are going to happen, whether or not it's a Jiffy Lube job versus a high-paying medical job or manufacturing job or what have you, is solely dependent on the residents and the government. So
I think we can identify the number one reason that people move here, whether it's as resident or relocate business here or start new business here. It all hinges on the quality of life that we have here.
Yeah.
And that quality of life is threatened if our tax base doesn't become more balanced and more equal. So I like to ask the question, what comes first? Rooftops, workforce, or jobs? And it depends who I ask that question to, the answers that we get. But we know that it's a rising tide and they all have to complement each other, feed from each other, and off we go. So I want to back up a little bit and talk about how this new chamber became what it is today, how it got put together. So I have to back up to history a little bit, that the previous chamber was in a spot to where there was no secret throughout town that they had some financial challenges along the way. They were dedicated on some revenue sources that through the natural attrition of business were no longer viable means of revenue. They were in a save mode for a while. We were in a save mode for a while. Been a long time member of our chamber. And unfortunately, when we were headed into the 2020 year, leadership at the chamber made some changes, hired a new executive director, president, CEO, Amy Stafford. Amy came on board with 16 years experience in another market at a state level as well. And it seemed as if, as we were entering 2020, the momentum was shifting. It looked optimistic for the chamber. We were gaining new support. There were new members. There were excitement and so forth. Unfortunately, COVID hit. The frail condition of the financials of the previous chamber were not in good shape, so it was decided by the leadership of the organization to go ahead and close that existing chamber. We were all disappointed. One of our members stepped up at that time and said, we really like the opportunity with Amy, and he was willing to put her on his payroll to fund her through a transition period of closing the old chamber and opening the new chamber. Unfortunately, that plan didn't come to fruition. Amy took another job at the St. John's Chamber. Wish her well. It's a good fit for her. So in all honesty, Greg, myself and some of my close friends, we all sort of went, phew, here we are in the middle of COVID ourselves, operating our businesses. We really didn't have time to, invest in creating a new chamber. Mm-hmm. Well, that changed. Yeah. That changed because of Jason DiLorenzo, a good friend, a mutual friend of ours, mm-hmm. introduced us. And when when Jason talked to you, he shared with me that, hey, there's this guy. He's got great experience in the chamber. He's got history here in this community, and he's interested in coming back. And I just thought I would reach out to you, John, to see if you would want to talk to him.
Yeah, 4th of July was our was our conversation. I spent the last 7.5 years in Tallahassee working at the State Chamber of Commerce, and was looking for an opportunity to grow and get into an executive role again. I used to run the Home Builders Association in Volusia, but the interesting part of where we're at today with the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber is, I told my wife when we lived in Tallahassee, I would never go back to Flagler County because the economy is not diverse enough. There's a lot of community-wide division, and you really plugged me into the fact that there's tons of opportunity coming up in Flagler County as a whole, not just in Palm Coast. And so once I really started taking a look at it, once we had conversations about the vision of where the chamber could go, it was clear to me that we shared a common vision about what a chamber of commerce is supposed to do. And that kind of goes back to the origination of what our chamber is supposed to be doing in communities. And so really it's talking about these major issues and trying to affect change and supporting the business community. And we're all going to do those things. But that really was the first time that I thought about my future in Flagler County again, because I hadn't lived here since basically 2004. So.
Well, I think that we need to keep in the forefront of our conversation that we're interested in preserving the quality of life.
Yeah.
And a robust economy will help do that and lessen the burden on residents.
I think it's important also when you say quality of life, the environment is a part of that, because I think Flagler County is so natural in what it has to offer that it's important to understand. And I think as a Floridian, if you've been in Florida for any real period of time, for me it's 20 years now. My wife is a lifetime resident, but it really, the environment is intrinsically linked to being a Floridian, whether you're into boating or fishing or biking or canoeing or whatever.
Or all of the above.
Or taking advantage of some of the great woods and trails. I mean, this community has fantastic natural elements to it. And so it's not so much that those need to be improved. I think they're already very good. Certainly, there's always room for improvement. But really, this is about the business climate. This is about solving big community-wide issues.
So let me back up. So you and I had a telephone conversation. It went very well. I was excited. I hung up the phone. And I reached out to a couple of my buddies, Michael Shimento, Donald O'Brien, Gary Lubai, and a few others. And I said, I wanted you to meet this guy, Greg Blosé. And we all remember your name in the involvement of the old chamber, that there was some counseling that you provided to us, perhaps in government affairs and a few other areas before. So your name was recognized quickly. So we had a Zoom meeting, and the Zoom meeting went very well. And again, we were not ready to talk about launching a new chamber. And it was Donald O'Brien, after you popped off of the call, after the Zoom meeting, who said, gentlemen, ready or not, we have an opportunity. And Greg Blosé represents a great opportunity to go forward with the new chamber. And when opportunity knocks, you have to answer the door. And so we were very excited to extend that conversation. I want to share just 2 points in that. Your overall enthusiasm and excitement was infectious. We all felt it. The conversation that I'm really most impressed with that I had with you was when I approached you and said, Greg, we're starting a new chamber, and I just keep thinking about the word excellence. Is there any reason why our goal could not be to create a world-class chamber and the best chamber in the state? And I loved your response. Yeah. Your response was, yeah, and here's how I'm going to do it.
Yeah. I think it's a clean slate, right? You have an opportunity to build an organization from scratch. Thankfully, because of my time at the state chamber, I've spent a lot of time studying organizational excellence, chambers of commerce throughout not only the state but the country that are doing it the right way. And I think we do have an opportunity. It almost sounds crazy when you talk to somebody that's not really educated about what we're doing, which is rare. I mean, chambers of commerce just don't pop up every day, but we have an opportunity to really build a best-in-class chamber of commerce.
I think we do, and I think our timing is excellent. I think that as far as economic opportunity in Palm Coast, Flagler County, and the rest of the municipalities in Flagler County has never been greater, or it hasn't been this great since ITT came to town. There's just a whole lot of things going our way, and I'm very excited that we can support them. I wanted to point out that the clean sheet of paper, we're in a different direction than the old chamber. The old chamber had hundreds of members. As we know, membership takes a lot of services. And so as we form this new chamber, some people have been criticizing us that it's the good old boys, it's a clique, so forth. And they specifically criticized the investment to become a member. When we launched the chamber, we decided that our number one priority would be to be fiscally responsible to this entity. Right. And we didn't pass that burden. We accepted that burden ourselves. And each member in the first year so far became a member with a membership fee of $5,000. And again, we've been accused that that's keeping a lot of people out. And that's not our intent at all. Our intent is to build an organization fiscally sound so that we can expand and offer membership to others, but when we can, again, afford to do so.
Yeah, John, I think you're absolutely right. It is something that we have the opportunity to build it the right way. It's going to take time to build it the right way. We will be servicing small businesses, but for now, we're thankful to be in a community that has a number of businesses that are doing quite well that have the ability to fund a startup chamber of commerce. And so the other side of it is COVID-19. I don't want to get too far off track, but I think there's something disingenuous about reaching out to small businesses in the middle of a global pandemic when they're absolutely getting slaughtered and saying, hey, I know you just paid the old chamber and now there's a new chamber and give us money. It's right now it's not about the money. It's about getting it right. It's about what is this organization going to do? And I'm confident that when we roll out our small business program, it'll be one of the best in the state. And we'll include built into it a lot of opportunities to help strengthen local businesses. So we'll look forward to sharing more about that.
I want to talk about the trend in chambers today, the change that's taking place, and the core value of our chamber going forward. And we've talked about it before, Greg, but this chamber is not about me, it's about we. Mm-hmm. We, the business community. What are the issues that are facing our business community, are challenging our business community? You mentioned COVID, the change in liabilities, and who's speaking up for the business community, right? So I think that the priority that we've outlined as a new organization is again focused on quality of life, balance of our tax base. Develop those three variables of rooftops, workforce, and jobs. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to be partners with you.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but nobody who does this type of work is in it for quick and easy or a big paycheck. This is really all about understanding the importance of a community, understanding that the business community does need to be represented. And when you look at the population of Flagler County, John, over 100,000 people. And by the year 2040, it's going to be near 160,000 people. So a lot of changes coming down the pipeline, and there needs to be leadership and guidance to businesses from a Chamber of Commerce that has their eye not only on what's happening now, but what's going to be happening in the future.
So our role today is, if you look at the heavy lifting that has been done here recently by our elected officials. Mayor Holland, with success of UNF and the MedNext opportunity, the follow-up with Jacksonville University coming to town. We understand that obviously Advent Health has announced a second hospital. We believe that we'll get a confirmation that there's yet another healthcare system that's coming to town. And so our job is to support those efforts and to make sure that there is advocacy for the benefits that these new business opportunities are going to bring to our community.
Yeah, I think that's really important, John. There's kind of two parts to this. One is being a partner and making these announcements more successful, but the other side of it is really educating the residents on what's happening and talking about the facts. I think that was a vacuum that existed in this community that we're going to be trying to fill, which is why we're doing so much research about what's happening now and in the future. But it's important for residents to know that not all change is bad. It's important to listen to the residents, but really looking at what can this community be? And I could go off on a long tangent about that.
So one of the opportunities that we have in our community haven't been this strong, as I mentioned before, since ITT came to town. We had a meeting. We were recruiting new members. It was a lunch meeting, you'll recall. And at that meeting was Mayor Melissa Holland and County Commission Chair Dave Sullivan. And in the conversation that we had with them, I identified that those elected officials have tough jobs. The trend throughout our state, throughout the neighboring communities, and here in our community, no exception, that there's some pushback on development. And when you watch these meetings for the city and the county, I'm going to refer to them as the vocal minority, that there are a group of people that come in and say, you're ruining the environment, you're increasing our taxes, you're increasing crime and so forth. And we've got data that dispels all of those claims. But at the same time, what had been lacking was a voice to tell the other side of the story. So there are elected officials hanging out to dry, defending the growth that's coming anyway, and they didn't have anybody that they could count on to support the decisions that they have to make, tough decisions that they have to make. So I'm very proud that we are able to help them and talk about both sides of the issues, especially in the development world.
Sometimes, John, as you know, the role of a chamber of commerce is to be the adult in the room. I mean, it's easy to get emotional about these issues, especially when you talk about them having an impact in your neighborhood. Most people understand Florida is an ever-changing deal. People are moving here to the tune of 1,000 a day, and communities are going to change. It's up to us to change it in the right way, though, and I think that's what's important to know.
Okay, Greg, we're going to take a break, but I want to come back, or when we come back, I want to talk about the forecast from the state chamber.
Okay, sounds good.
If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and click on the notification bell to tune in on our latest content.
Hi, welcome back. I'm John Walsh, host of Observations. With me today is the president, CEO of the Palm Coast-Flagler Regional Chamber, Greg Blosé. Thanks again for joining us, Greg.
Yeah.
I want to drill down a little bit on the programming and the direction of our chamber and the values that we have prioritized. And again, let me sort of set it up that the way it started was I met you, I introduced you to some of my close friends. They expanded the circle, they expanded the next circle, and all of a sudden I'm proud to report that we have 27 members in our first 6 months. The financial condition of the chamber is a surplus, right? Cash on hand is solid as a business,
Yep.
and very excited about where we're going. So, Greg, where are we going?
Well, where we're going, certainly we'll talk about events in a moment, John, but I think the big news for now is we have released additional membership levels just this week. So you can go to palmcoastflaglerregionalchamber.com and click on the join tab on the menu bar, and you can see the different opportunities that are available. We still have a small business component that we've yet to roll out, but
In development, absolutely.
that's correct. So I think that's the biggest development, is continuing to grow this chamber in the right way. To your point, we're financially stable, so there's no rush to do it quickly, but we do want to engage businesses in a conversation about the challenges and opportunities that they face every day, and how the chamber can be supportive of that.
I want to mention something about the 27 members that, it started with, the good old boys, me and my buddies. But I am really proud of who's at our table. And some of the members that are at our table were not engaged in the previous chamber. And these are big employers throughout our community that were looking for this type of an opportunity to help our business community and, again, preserve our quality of life.
Yeah, I was happy to continue partnerships that I built at the state chamber level in Tallahassee with, FPL is on board, TECO, Spectrum, there's a few other big names.
AT&T.
Yep, they're all coming down the pipeline. So I'm excited about where we're at. We've got all the right people involved, but we still need more brain power and support in terms of people to execute some of these plans that we have, and a lot of it is going to be them telling us what they need the chamber to do.
Which has happened so far.
Yeah, it really has. I've made it a point to go out and talk to business leaders to get an understanding of where they're at, what they're dealing with. And along those lines, the very first in-person event we're ever going to have is coming up on Friday, February 26th, 8 a.m. We've got a breakfast with the chief economist of the state chamber, Dr. Jerry Parrish.
Talk about opening headliner. That's a pretty good place to start, Greg.
If you've not heard Dr. Parrish speak, first thing you might think of an economist is like this dry person with a bow tie that you're just going to fall asleep to. Dr. Parrish is very engaging. He makes it easy to understand economics. But even more than that, the research that he does, and by the way, he's a professor of economics at Florida State University, in addition to doing the chamber's work. The information that he brings just really isn't available anywhere else. I mean, this is the guy if you're wanting to know what business trends are happening in the state. So invite everyone to join us at breakfast on Friday, February 26th, 2021, 8 a.m. at Hilton Garden Inn. And he's going to give both the state and the county perspective, the economic projections for 2021, which I'm excited about. So.
I don't want to be a spoiler, but we have had a preview of what his message is going to be.
Yeah.
They're coming, aren't they?
They are. I mean, what we know for Flagler County, and this is based on data from the University of Florida, Palm Coast, and a middle number. This isn't even the high number, which I think it'll be much higher. But just to use a conservative number, 22,000 net new residents moving to Flagler County by the year 2030. That's 9 years away now. And so when we think about that, the questions are, where are they going to work? Where are their kids going to go to school? Where are they going to get their health care from?
Where are they going to live?
Exactly. What roads are they going to drive on? Where are they going to get their water and energy from? And how does that affect me as an existing resident or an existing business owner or somebody looking to open a business to capitalize on the growth that's happening in the market? So lots of good news coming out. And I think one of the things Dr. Parrish will speak to is the opportunity of the recovery out of COVID as more people get vaccines, as we get a better handle on this, and life returns to the new normal or whatever it ends up being.
Sure.
It's certainly not going to be locked in your house for the last year. I think we're going to see business take off in a pretty major way, barring some other catastrophic event nobody knows about. So.
No telling. But so let me wrap it up by saying, Greg, proud to have partnered with you. We've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
But I think, again, that the opportunity here in our community has been this great since ITT came to town back in the mid-'70s. Again, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey, thanks, John. Appreciate your time.